Hello and good evening. Just a minute early, but it is Tuesday. It is the first Tuesday in the month, so it's time for our bag of the month. And this month, it's a Raggy beach bag. As you probably know, I do like to chop and change to give you small bags, large bags, zipped bags, and no zipped bags. So this is why today, for the first time, I have brought you the biggest bag that I have ever made. The large bloom bag was quite large, but this is even larger. So while we are all getting ourselves together, I can see some of you are watching now. Sue's watching. I'm just going to go, here I am. I'm going to go onto my phone. You see, it tells me Sue's watching on the pad, and only Sue and Sue and Sue and Sue. But Pippa's here. So good evening, Pippa and Joanna. And, the rest it tells me is watching. Well, I try to do my best. I mean, really, it should have been far more. But I like you to give it a go, and I like to get through my fabrics because, as I keep telling you, I've got more coming all the time. Fortunately, nothing's arrived yet, but I have got the last load to pay for as well. So we have to keep turning it over, don't we? Good evening, Elaine and Marilyn. Back home after a month or so in Scotland. How lovely. Good evening, Heather, Paula, Amanda, Jen, Angela, Sandra, and there's Sue and Marilyn and Susan and Vanessa. Hello to all of you. There's Alison as well. And Jan. Yes, I've got a jacket on again because I thought when I get up in the morning, this conservatory feels cozily warm. Obviously it's protected from wind, and the sun shines a little bit and it just feels pleasant. Now it's feeling a little bit cooler, and as I have no sleeves in my top, I just thought let's just put a little jacket on to make me feel a little bit warmer. So who else have we here? There's Yvonne. Hello, Yvonne. And Shirley and Jack. Evening to you. Liz, Pauline, Jeeta. Hello. Sue and Jill and John. Yes. Absolutely all the best thoughts for you both. John at first and then you when it comes to it. Hello, Jill. You're in the car. Lovely. I can't think. Yes. Fleetwood, it must be somewhere up there. Are you on YouTube? No. Does it look as though I'm on YouTube? I'm on Facebook in the Sew with Trisha group. So I don't know why that is. Happy birthday to your granddaughter, Marianne. It's fine. I shall make sure it will be in the group for a month, but I will upload it to YouTube as well. So you can't miss it. Hello, I haven't got back to you, Phyllis. Yes, I have got some of that fabric. Sorry. I read your message. I didn't look immediately. Then I looked yesterday and I've forgotten to reply to you, but I have got some of those, both of those left for you. So I'll see if I can find your message again. I think it was an email, which is always good. Jane loves the Raggy bag. Fantastic. I don't think I've done a Raggy bag with you. I've done a Raggy quilt, but I did one a long, long time ago, and I've still got it somewhere, but who knows where. Hello, Margaret. Hello, Helen. Hello, Patricia from sunny Mexico. Fantastic. Anywhere sunnier than here at the moment. Thank you, Jeeta. It's my black jacket, isn't it? There we are. Hello, Sue. Hello, Bev. Hello, Wendy. Gosh, birthdays and interviews. And hello, Patricia. It's by Blackpool. That's it. I knew I'd heard. Yes, I was going to say on the coast, but then I thought perhaps it's not. That's lovely. Hello, Christine. Thank you, Jeeta. Now, I have managed to put the PDF in the group. I have managed to put 3 of the kits on the website. So I'm really ahead of myself, aren't I? Hello, Bridget. Hope you're well. Hope you're improving. Hello, Lynn. Hello, Rhonda. And hello, Linda in Torquay at the moment. How lovely. You enjoy yourself. Oh, no. I haven't. No. I really mustn't I? I'm more about uploading to YouTube. I must have uploaded another 6 today. Because funnily enough, hello Beverly, hope you're doing well. And Vanessa, I'd love to learn. Oh, you'll love it, Vanessa. It is quite easy, quite relaxing, and very forgiving, because it doesn't need to be absolutely perfect. Hello, Sue. So yes, I've quite enjoyed making these, but I am going to make the smaller version tonight because it would take forever. There's the first part of it just takes time because there's so many pieces to actually stitch through. Oh, lovely Jack. I'm glad you are. Yes, so I'm going to do the smaller version. Now, in the PDF, there are 3 sizes. The one behind me, just here, is the beach bag itself. It is 27 inches wide, 27 inches, it's huge. In there, I have 3 towels and a couple of cushions, so you can see how much you could get in there. Yes, so it's 27 by 17 high by 11 or 12 deep, so it is really, really big. And I actually thought as well, if you're using it for the beach and you've still got your towels in there, it would be a lovely pillow to just lie on the beach and use as your pillow to go to sleep on. Anyhow, let's see. So there's 3 sizes, so that's the biggest one. There's a middle one using the same amount of squares, but they're smaller squares. And then there is this smaller one, which has just got a slightly different format of the number of squares, which I haven't actually written into the pattern, but I will talk to you as we go along. Aha. Oh, well, yes, a quilt like it is lovely. Really snugly, really snugly. So, yes, you've got 3 different sizes within the pattern. The other thing that's just made going off track a little bit, what I've just decided today, with all the PDFs on the website, what I've decided, I will put a post up, but if any orders for PDFs, which are obviously downloadable and free postage, because there's no postage on it, I am going to, for every PDF, I will send out at no extra cost the printed version. I think a lot of people might like that, so that's what I'm going to do, and I will put a post up to say just that. Hello Carol, and Sandra loves the colour. Yes, so one of them, the one that I'm making tonight, I've done a little mock-up on the website. It does look like it's going to be, but I have got a panel that is already made, so I stood it in front of the jade version, which is fully made, so that I could take a picture of it. Hello Juliet, hope you're well. Yes, so it's quite, you've got 3 patterns in one, if you like, but the basic technique, you could do even bigger. You could do longer and more shallow if you wanted to. I suppose you could make it into a pencil case if you wanted to. You could put a flap on it if you wanted to. Now the actual, the beach bag one, I have put little poppers so that, actually I'll stand up so that you can see. Not always a good thing, but here you can see the size of it. And then here, and it will be in the kit, I've put little poppers, little cam snaps, so that when you open it up, it is really, really big. And then if you've got less in there, you can close it up with your cam snaps so that it goes in at the side like that. But it's really quite fun. And this nice raggedy effect is really, really easy to do. So rather than keep picking it up because it's so big, I thought I will just show you how it works like that. Yes, yeah, works perfectly with cotton fabric. Absolutely does. So Patsy managed to get on the iPad for the first time. Lovely. But you can't see any comments. Oh, right. Yeah, well, that's what I'm like. I can't see any. I'm filming on the iPad. No comments. That's why I look at my phone, because that's where I see the comments. But at least you found it. That's fantastic. Someone could live in it, couldn't they? Yeah, you almost could. Really, really. Okay, shall we get started? I can't think there was anything else I was going to say. I haven't actually put a menu up for the week yet, but I will do. The other thing I was going to say, I am going to start on Friday the new mystery quilt number 5. And as I said, it is only going to be for Sew with Trisha members. So I'm just deliberating whether to make a special group for you to go into to visit it, or whether to do it in the Sew with Trisha group, because obviously I can't see any comments, but it's going to be 8 weeks, so it takes a little while. But it's going to be on a Friday evening for the from this Friday right the way through for 8 weeks, and then you'll have a quilt of whichever size that you would like it to be. There's Marilyn. What a lovely day weather-wise. Well, not here. We've had pouring rain. It's been miserable. It is the nicest it's been all day, actually. The sun is now shining over there, but it's been a miserable and chilly day. So it's obviously different. Marilyn, I can't remember where you are. Wherever you are. Hello, Hayes. I look as though I'm off to a corporate meeting. Not these days. Oh, I don't go very far at all. Thank you. No, not the leggings. Definitely not, no. I like comfort, I must admit. Hello, Virginia. Oh, you love that, Virginia. Good. Hello, Kathleen. Hello, Joanne. Oh, I'm glad you're loving them. I tell you what, every month I think, will they like what I've got? And what I tend to do, I've usually made it a couple of days before or something like that. Not always. And I walk past it all the time and I grow accustomed to it. I grow to like it more every time I look at it. And now you're telling me you like it. That's making me feel so much better. Right, so good evening, Virginia. Jack says, well done, Patsy. Hello, Sharon. Thank you. I'm posting out some orders tomorrow. So yours will be with that, Sharon. I'm sorry I haven't actually got there yet. But we've waited, haven't we, anyway? So I thought you won't mind a couple more days. Hello, Pat. I hope you're feeling okay, Pat, and hopefully improving. Fingers crossed. And all our love and prayers with you. Yes, so, yes, the jade bag. I love the jade bag too. This is where I like to have a lot of fabric so that I can select. And in North Lincolnshire, Marilyn, that's right. That is right. Wow, so it's not too far from me, really. And yet you've had such fabulous weather. And we haven't. Never mind, never mind. Okay, so I'm going to switch this camera around onto the machine so that we can get cracking. Okay, so you'll be able to see my messy workspace, and hopefully we'll go down, not up. Camera down. Whoops, there we go. That took its time, didn't it? So there is our jade bag with my phone on there as well. So let's just see how far we can go. There we are. Right, let's put my phone just here so that I can see what you're saying. Oh, there's Jill. Knock that over. Not doing very well there, am I? Carolyn. Hello, Carolyn. Oh, thank you, Sharon. Oh, thank you. Okay, so here is our bag. Now with this one, I've actually put a cam snap in the middle so that it closes together like that. And I haven't put any on the outside. So you can do whatever you would like to do, but it is still quite spacious. Can you see when we open it out, there's quite a big amount of room in there. So I think it'd be quite handy for your wool things, your crocheting, your knitting, but it's really quite a good little bag, and it's got thermolam wadding in the outer pieces, but at the bottom, to make it more sturdy, we've got Styleville in there. You can see all the little bits of fabric there, all the threads. So all we do is push the sides in and it becomes a nice shape. And you see it's triangular from the sides, or you just work with it open, and nice handles which actually would fit over your shoulder and under your armpit, so it's nice and secure. But that is our Raggy. So I am going to show you how we are going to make this, and believe it or not, we don't actually do any pressing. There's no ironing, pressing at all. So what you will have is lots of squares of fabrics that you either need to cut or you will use from the kit. So I think so we've got, this is the smaller one, and you see you've got all the squares. What you will also have is, so these are the outer pieces, and then you will have squares of this fabric. They are all Moda fabrics here, and squares of this fabric for your lining. So every square will have so these are 4-inch squares. I'm going to put those down because we're not using those, and I have already put these together. So let's have a look. I think within this there are 2. So each square, each portion or section of the Raggy bag, hello Tony, will need an outer fabric, so this one shows on the outside, a lining fabric, and a square of wadding. So, oh, a great picnic bag. Yeah, absolutely. It'll be a large picnic, I tell you, Patricia. Yeah, absolutely. So a 4-inch outer square and a 4-inch lining square and a 3-inch piece of wadding. So all you'll do first of all with your lining piece is put that wrong side facing up, and then the wadding goes in the centre, and there is about 1/2 inch all the way around. And then you'll get yourself an outer fabric, place that on top so that wrong sides are together. So basically you're making your lining at the same time, because the right side is facing out for the lining and the right side is facing out for the outside of the bag. And with this, all we need to do is stitch them together. So I've got enough for one panel. I've got the rest ready prepared, because obviously you don't want to see me doing this. Oh yes, for a baby quilt. Yeah, it would work very well for a baby quilt. Now the only thing with a baby quilt, I would put 80-20 wadding, you know, more natural fibres. So cotton, either 100% cotton or 80-20. And it really wouldn't use that much, because we do cut them that little bit smaller. But yes, absolutely would, because if you're using cotton fabrics, cotton wadding, or 80-20, which is practically all cotton, 80% cotton, 20% polyester. And actually, the more you wash a Raggy quilt, the better it becomes, the Raggy effect. Now, I haven't washed the bags, but it gives a lovely effect. Once those snipped edges are washed, it all sort of tangles itself together, and it's really, really lovely. So I have already popped all these pieces together that I need. So I've got, as you can see here, I've got my wadding inside, my lining fabric and my outer. And for one of the side pieces, or no, not the side, the back or the front of the bag, this needs 6 pieces, which is 2 rows of 3. Let me just show you this one so that you can see. So this is a front or a back piece. You've got 3 squares and 3 squares. So 1 row of 3 squares and another row of 3 squares. At the sides, you only need 2 rows of 2. Okay? So you need 20 in all. You need 20 pieces of lining fabric and 20 outer pieces and 20 pieces of wadding. So what do we do? Well, what we do need to think, so we're doing differently from our patchwork where we usually put right sides of fabric together and we have all the seams on the inside and not showing. For this one, we do, of course, 1/4 inch seams for patchwork. For this one, we are going to do 1/2 inch seams, and we are making our seams show on the outside. So we're using our seams to full advantage to give that ruffled effect. Now let me just see if I need to come in a little bit closer. There we go. Okay, so we are going to stitch a diagonal stitch, or but 2 diagonals. We're going to stitch straight across, just a straight stitch on both diagonals. And I suggest if you have a walking foot, you use that because it can slip. Bamboo wadding jack is absolutely fine because that's natural too. Because your fabric quite often slips with your standard foot and the pressure, the walking foot will help keep the layers together and keep all your outside edges in line. So I've got my walking foot on already, and I actually continued until I put the binding around the edge at the top. I continued with the walking foot all the time. So I do a little bit of chain piecing as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just stitch, I'm turning my stitch length up to between 3 and 3.5, so it's a longer stitch. I'm also using thread that is a contrast colour so you can actually see it. So I'm stitching across that diagonal, then I'm going to pick my next one up, making sure those edges are aligned, and I'm going to put it straight under the foot and keep going. So you can feel the wadding in there, which is lovely. And I'm going to pick my next one up. That's all lined up. And as I say, I'm keeping stitching. Rather than cutting the thread and going, then doing the second diagonal. So I'm just doing one diagonal line to start off with. Like that. So I'm just picking up the next one, each time looking that they are nicely aligned, all the raw edges. And then there is my last one for number 6. Okay, so we will come across there. So when I've done my 6, I'm going to cut the thread, and then I've just got a long chain of pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to do the other diagonal. So we will start, I'll pull that, if anything's moved, just pull it so that it lines up again. So I'm going to do the second diagonal, straight across there, and then cut the thread. And then when I pull it away from me, I can clip that thread in between and put that out of the way. And then I'll just move on to the next one and do that diagonal, cut the thread, pull it from the machine and clip them apart. And I think that it actually saves time and it saves thread by not having to cut the thread each time. So I'm just pulling that away, clip that thread and stack my squares. So next one here, and I am actually starting right at the very point, but you don't have to. If you want to start a 1/4 inch in or roughly, but make sure it hits the fabric when you start stitching. Okay, there's that one. Clip the thread and then put the next one underneath. That's it, just make sure that's lined up nicely and straight across. So what we have is across the diagonals for each piece. So now all we need to do is actually, I'm just looking at that there, is actually line these up. So I'm just looking at that's it. So the other side, we will have a flowery one with a plain or the darker one, and then a flowery one, and I'm just alternating the darks. So I'm going to put a dark there and a dark here and a patterned one in the middle. Okay, so there's 3 different colours, and what I shall do, you will have you need 20 of the different, well, there's 3 different colours. I don't know if you can see that fabric's different to that one, but there's 1, 2, 3. So you just organise them how you would want them to be. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to join that row at the top together. So I'm going to take I'm going to put this one to the side for a moment. Just fall on the floor, why don't you? So I'm going to pick these ones up and I'm going to put them lining sides together. And I'm going to line up those edges and I'm going to stitch down here. So, and I'm going to stitch with a 1/2 inch. Now, my walking foot is about 1/4 inch wide. So I'm leaving, I can see a little bit of fabric here. And what you're actually doing, and you'll be able to feel, is that you're stitching down the edge of the wadding. So having stitched down there, we'll open it out, and as you can see, the right sides of the fabric with the seam showing. Then I'm going to pick up the next one and lay that lining sides together and stitch down there as well. I'm not reversing at the beginning or the end, just like we do in our patchwork. So there is our first row of 3. Then I'm going to bring back in my next row, so you can just check that that's in the right orientation. And I'm going to take this one here and put them wrong sides together or lining sides together. And again, I'm going to stitch down that edge. And if you're not quite 1/2 inch, I can see mine goes in a little bit there. It doesn't matter. It's not going to show. So then I'm going to pick up my last piece in that row and pop those 2 together. And again, stitch down there. I should have reduced my stitch length really to the normal 2.5, and I forgot. Okay, so there I have my second piece and my top piece. So all I'm going to do now is pick these up and put them lining sides together. And if we can line up that end, you'll see that these seams here will nest. And I do put one going one way and one the other, but we will be cutting them in the end anyway. So I don't even pin. We're doing the same 1/2 inch stitch seam allowance. And once I've got to that seam line there, I'm now going to make sure this one nests as well. So tuck that in. And it's amazing how well these fabrics sit together. And then just pull that one, make sure that one matches. And there we go. So I've got my outer piece now ready, done. So here's the fun part, and this is what I would suggest you do, and that is, oh, you can see there, yeah. We do your snipping every time you've done a panel, because I have done my side ones. So here is my side one, which has only got 2 rows of 2. So you'll stitch those together in exactly the same way. And once you've done, you'll need 2 of these, just like you'll need 2 of these. I would do my clipping. Rather than leaving it all till the end, I would do that now. So what we're going to do, starting with these seams, that was my long seam. I'm going to snip in there where it was stitched down, and I'm going to stitch in there, a snip in there, and then I'm going to swivel it round. This is where it was stitched down as well. Clip in there and clip in there. So these short seams, which are held together by the long one, I just like to fold that back towards me so that I'm holding the seam, and I'm starting probably 1/2 inch away from the edge, but I'm going to snip every 1/4 inch. Okay, so short, sharp scissors will be really good, but I've got used to clipping with longer ones as well. So we just fold that and then clip. What you don't want to do, if you can help it, is stitch into that stitched line. If you do, just go back and stitch over the top of it so it's redone. So then I'm going to go around to this side, this short one here, and holding it like this makes it nice and easy. So we just clip, clip. And as I say, the closer together, you don't want them so close that you're just cutting all the fabric away, but the closer they are together, about 1/4 inch is really good. If you do them 1/2 inch apart, you don't get as nice a ruffle. Okay, so this is probably you call the boring part, but it is quite nice. Oh, there's Leslie. Hello, Leslie. So when you come to the long piece, you can just fold that back like that and start snipping. So you can take all your pent-up frustrations out on this piece of fabric, which is going to look lovely in the end. And John will probably be saying, what on earth are you clipping it all like that? But it's the effect. I can go under there and then just clip along here. Now, when we've got all these ruffles to, as I said before, washing really makes them nice and fluffy. So when we've got them like that, you can either rub your nails up the middle, you see how that comes out nicely, or what I found was quite good as well was to use the handles of your scissors. See that ruffles them all out, and there, really, really nice and soft and fluffy. And then along the long edge, there we go, just keep ruffling them away, spread them out like that and like that. Okay, so there we have our ruffled piece. Okay, so we've got the ruffled, we've got all of our, when we've got all of our pieces done, the next thing we need to do is the base. So I'm just going to put that to the side for a moment. Now our base, the base on mine, this one's going to be the outside because it goes with one of the fabrics in our squares, in our ruffled squares. And then I've got the same lining that I've used for all the squares as my lining here. So we have, can't remember the measurements of this, but we have the base, and then the piece of foam, the Styleville foam stabilizer is an inch smaller on all sides. So having put the lining fabric wrong side facing up, so there's the right side, we then want the outer fabric on the top. Now, what I did before, I did use some, so I'm just leveling that out. I did use some, where's my thing? Oh, I've got some pins here. I used some 505 spray to hold it together, but I've ran the can out, so I'm just going to use some pins to pop in and hold my layers together, because you really do need these layers held together, and I should just have to take them out as I go, because it does make it move a little bit because of the thickness of the foam. So I've got one more pin. I have Right, let's put the pin in that way. So I've pinned it, but as I say, the spray is a lot better. Now what we're going to do with this, you can do it either way, but I've done straight line stitching to quilt it all the way, all along the length. So again, I've put my stitch length up to 3.5 for quilting. I've started just a little way in, and I'm just going to stitch a straight line all the way down here to hold these layers all together. Okay, and I've stopped. I haven't gone right to the edge. I've gone about 1/2 inch away, and then we'll go down the next one. So I'm just watching. If you want to draw lines to do your quilting, you can, but I'm just having a look and keeping my eye on the line that we've already stitched. The other thing you could do is add your seam guide, or rather your quilting guide in there if you wanted to, and that will give you exact distance between your lines. I'm going to take that one out now and go to there, and the next line here, and keep going down. So I can hold the fabrics together the further I get across. And I think we might get either 1 or 2 more in here. I can take that pin out. There we go. And I'm just going to do 1 more. I'll turn it around this way. So it's a little bit closer, but I just want it to be nicely held together. I can see it's not very straight on this very long one, that's why. Okay, so as well, because these sides are a bit flappy, I am going to stitch about 1/2 inch in so that it outlines all around the edge. So let's start round about there and just stitch round. Doesn't hurt, but it's just holding those layers together. So let's just go back there. There we are. And as I say, this is just stitching all the way around the edge. And we can clip those threads off either now or once we've finished. But to be honest, those threads, they all blend into the ragginess of the bag. There we go. And then we'll go around here. So that's just keeping everything together. Okay, so it looks a little bit like a lilo, doesn't it? But that gives the nice base for our bag and makes it a little bit more robust. So let's see. I have my pieces. Now what we're going to try to do is not get, but I'm just putting them all together here. I'm going to try not to get fabrics going or touching each other. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to push this back like so that I can lay this out. There we go. I don't think you'd get such an obvious seam if you use pinking shears. No, the strips wouldn't be long enough for. No, where's that gone here? Right, I need a bigger space really. So what we're going to do, so we're making it, if you like, I'm going to have the right sides of the bag facing upwards. So we start with our base here, and then we're going to have a side panel on here, and we're going to have a side panel on this side too. Just trying to think, it might need to go that way. Right. And then our two, so that's front and back, and then our 2 sides are going to go here. Let's just have a look. Here and here. So I'm just going to put some pins. I'm going to have that there because I can see that is going to go next to that here. So I'm going to have that way round. I'm going to have that way round because that's going to match with that. And then, oh, that's better. Then that one is going to go next to this one, and this one is going next to that one. So what I can do is just put some pins, not that I'm going to stitch together, but that one is going to go right sides together with that one. This is a long side, a front or a back. And I'm just going to put a pin in the middle. And then on this side, this one's going to come, lining sides together. Let's just put that there with a pin in there. I should take that out before I start. And then at the side panels here, they are going to go lining side together just there. You see how that all lines up just how we wanted it to go. I didn't want to pull my reel on the floor, but I have. Okay, so on this side, we've just got a side panel here. And what I was looking at is this one is going to come there. So I'm having a flower next to a plain as such. And that's going on this side. So right sides together and put a pin in there. So you can see there the shape of it. I have got 2 rows, so we've got 2 rows high on all the sides, but the front and back have got 3 squares across, 3 and 2 and 2. Okay, oh, that's what it is, that's one. So, because it's held together, I can leave it like that and just pull in. Oh, that's it. Let's just pull the machine in. There we are. So I have got, as I say, all of my pieces just temporarily pinned together. You can see I've got my side panels here. So I like to start, you can start with the front and back or the sides, but I'm going to start with the side panel, and I'm just going to align those. I can take that pin out now because I know exactly where it's going. And let me just put there we go, put that in. So I'm going to line those up. Now if you want to put a pin in there, you can. I'll put a pin in there for you just to hold that. And then we're going to do just what we did before and stitch along here with a 1/2 inch. So get the other flaps out of the way, a 1/2 inch seam allowance. You can start from the edge or you can start a little way in. If you start about 1/2 inch in, it's easier when we make the sides up. So we'll start here, and I will actually just reverse on that. So I'm practically stitching on that line that we stitched around the foam of the style bill. Okay, so that one is nicely attached now. So I'm going to swivel it round, and we'll do the other side one as well. So as I pinned it the way I wanted it to go, I don't really have to think about it too much, but just line those edges up like so, and then 1/2 inch and a little reverse, line those edges up as best you can. As I say, it doesn't take, there's an allowance for a little indiscrepancy, but you can see there, those two are now joined, and I'm now going to join this one just here. So when we join the main front and back, we can look at the seam allowance and we can line that up. Where are we there? So we can line that up, and you can see that that is in the right place. So I can start stitching. If I stitch again from 1/2 inch in, like that, it's going to just make it easier. I'm just going to take that pin out. It's going to make it easier when we come to making our sides join. So we're coming along there. I'm holding that to that end and just stitching along there. Some of our little The strips are being stitched down, but we can always open those up again. So there's that. This is the inside, and then we'll move it round this way. And again, remember always we've got the right side facing us, so we can just line that up just there, and that matches along there. So 1/2 inch in, and as I said, I just reversed just a little bit there, just to give that extra hold. Now where is my pin? Oh, here's my pin. Let's just pull that out, making sure that that matches just there, and then also along this edge as well. 1/2 inch seam allowance, and 1/2 inch from the end. Okay, so you can see now, there's our lining and there's our outer. Okay, so it's looking like a bag. So we just need to stitch these side seams up here. Hello, Janet. Oh, I couldn't hear anything apart from the noise of the machine. So each time now, I'm going to join the seams that come together. This is looking lovely on the screen. So always join from the top. Okay, the top edge is most important, and then you can come down to the bottom, just like when we use a similar technique for making bags with this like these sides. So pin if you would like to, and this time I'm going to stitch all the way from the top, and I'll reverse at the top because we want that to stay intact and not pull apart. And then at the bottom there, I'm just holding those together, holding that. We have got a seam here that can nest, so I'm holding that together, and then stitch down to the bottom, and I will reverse at the bottom as well just to hold that. So there is our first side, just there's our first side. So let's move round to this one here, and we can get this side to come up as well. So remember, match the top edge and the bottom will all come together. So we'll line that up. You can see we have a nesting seam here, so we can just nest that one way and the other, and we can always clip those our bits we've snipped. We can open those back up again. So I'm just looking, oops, what am I looking here? What am I doing? Oh, there we go. That's it, just open that out. I should have put a pin in it, shouldn't I? That's it. That's better. So I've got my, whoops, you can't see there. I've got my nesting here. So let's just hold that together. So I've got one going down and one coming up. And all the way to the bottom. And you see all of this ragginess, it really doesn't matter because it is part of the bag. So then we have our next seam here. So I'm going to hold that, line that up at the top, take my finger down the open seam here and just pull that at the bottom so it lines up. And again, you can see the nesting seams just there. So let's just pull that. I like it to go backwards on the top, or no, yeah, towards me on the top. There we are. So we're stitching down here, and then we can make sure this meets at the bottom, and we'll reverse at the bottom as well. And we've got our last one to make here. There you go. You can see how nice and neat that is on the inside, all the same fabric. And so the last side seam we have here will line up at the top like so, and pop that under as well. So flatten it down because it likes to be ruffled about. Let's see which way that's going. That's going that way. So it doesn't matter which way the nested seams are going, but we just want to make sure they are all nicely aligned. Okay, so there is there is our bag. Okay, we're all in one piece now. Now what I would suggest now is, because we've still got some more trim, we can do the trimming at the end, so we want to snip into these corners now. I'm going to put my top on here, and then we'll make the handles. So for the top, I have, actually I've got some of the lining fabric that is going to go around the top. Now this is cut 2 inches wide, and all I've done, I thought this was an easier way. I usually fold it in half, don't I? And then fold the raw edges into the middle and pop it over. And I thought it's harder to do that. So all I've done, I did fold it in half and press it. And then I opened it out and I just folded one edge. So this is just a 1/2 inch turn in. And what we're going to do around the top is we are going to stitch. So this is a width of fabric, and we're going to stitch we're going to put the raw edge to the top of the bag. So I'm going to take this off for the time being. See all that mess under there. And what I'm going to do is, yes I am, I'm going to take off my walking foot now, because I've done everything I needed to do with the walking foot. So here we go. Just, oh no, that way. There we go. So I have to take my whole screw out for the walking foot. So let's just unscrew that. There we go. And take that off. I lifted that up. There we go. So the walking foot comes off. I am going to screw this in just nicely. Whoops. No, am I doing it that way or that way? There we go. Right, that's going in. So I screw that in just a little way, because the foot just goes up the side, and then we'll tighten it once that is in place. Right, so that is nicely there, and then I just give that a little tighten so that that is well and truly in place. Okay, so now I am going to place I'm going to top stitch after I have, first of all, I'm going to cut off my selvage, and I'm going to fold that piece in 1/4 inch or so and fold that back. Let's see, I'm just going to put a pin in there to just hold that. Okay, and then I'm going to put the raw edge on the inside of the bag. So I'm actually going to start on one of these side panels, because it'd be less obvious there. So I'm going to place that fabric, the raw edge, so here's my folded edge, along the top edge, and I'm just going to do just over 1/4 inch seam allowance, like we've done for the rest of it, so that that folds over really nicely. So let's see, hopefully you can see that just there. So I'm back onto a normal stitch length of 2.5, and I'm just stitching around here. So just keep moving the bag so that we can line up that top edge like that, and I'm stitching it onto the lining. So I'm going from the inside of the bag, because we're going to fold it over the top, and we're going to top stitch from the top to hold it down, and that way we can get a nice even finish along that top edge, which is always really quite important. You want the top edge to look neat. Okay, so we're coming around, and let's see, Nikki, would it be easy to add a pocket or not? No, it wouldn't, because your lining and your outer fabric are all in one. I did think about a hanging pocket. So if you wanted to make a hanging pocket and put this under the bias, as we're putting this strip here, you could put a hanging pocket underneath so that it's all stitched together at the same time. But stitching pockets on you couldn't do an internal zip pocket because there's nowhere for it to go. You haven't got a separate lining. So no, it doesn't need the option, but a hanging pocket could be the answer if you had to have a pocket. Because as I say, you could put the pocket underneath the lining here, pin it in place so that it all gets stitched down together. Right, so I'm coming up to where I started. I can take that pin out in a moment. And then I'm just going to stitch over. So you can see the fabric is over that piece there. So I can now just cut that off. There we go. And let's just take that out of the way and just carry on stitching a few stitches over where we started. Okay. Right, so there is our top. And then all nice and neat there. We can just roll that over to the other side. And I am going to put a pin there so that can roll over. That rolls over the top. And just make that line up. And we'll put a pin in there so that we get a nice even. There we go. So let's just tuck that. What I could do is tuck this in. There we go. So here we have our tape that I've just put on there. So it could be bias tape. Doesn't have to be. I've just used strips of fabric so that it coordinates with, let's just pop that under there. There we go. So it coordinates with the bag fabric. So I'm going to start right close to, so that I can sew this overlap piece down first of all. And I'm going to get my seam ripper just to pull that down because I want that to, hang on, let's just take that out. I want that to cover the piece underneath and look neat. I don't want an extra bit standing out. There we go. Right, so now, because I pressed that back, this top edge, all we're doing is stitching around. Rather than having to fold it, I pressed it before I put the other edge, the raw edge on, and it just makes it life so much easier without having to pin around to hold it. But by all means, pop some pins around the edge if you prefer to. But I'm just pulling that over so that it just covers the stitching from the previous round. And then you know that's nice and straight, even top edge. There we go. Just flatten that down, pull that over, and I've got that guideline of the stitching that I did to attach the first part of the binding on. Okay. So just pull that around, pull that over, and pull it round again. That's it. Just keep tucking it over. And if you can get away without stitching down any of these flaps, but we can always just cut those to be free again. And we're nearly the whole way around now. And we're coming up to that first bit. So I've just carried on stitching over, the last 2 or 3, or the last inch or so, a few stitches to hold that. And then we can clip that there. So now we have a nice bound edge to the top here. I don't want that little bit of thread coming out there. And like this little piece here, let's just cut into there and clip that up again. So that's still nice and fluffy. Right, so there is the edge, there is our bag. All we need now is handles. So the handles are just slightly different to how we did that before. But what I'm going to do, so I have, with my fabric, I folded it in half and pressed, opened it out, folded the raw edges in and pressed. Yeah, that's right, only hanging. You could have a hanging one. Oh, all right, yes. So then fold it over, but I want these ends to be neat. Can you see I've done one already? I've got a nice neat end. So all we're going to do, once we've got it pressed, so we've pressed and folded together, I'm going to open this out and fold it back. Okay, so let's just put a pin in here. Now you've probably done this before, but it's just a very easy way, and I'm going to do the other end as well. So we've all got it we've got it folded, but we're going to fold it back on itself, line up that folded edge at the end, and I'm going to start stitching there. So I've got that concertinaed, so I'm going to stitch from the edge towards the fold. So let's just stitch across there, and then I'm going to stitch across here as well. So it's from the edges, those open edge there. So let's pop that under here and reverse at the beginning, reverse at the end. And then I'm going to clip that piece off. So both those corner points, we're going to clip off like that. And then when I turn it through to the right side, yes, I did show you how to do it, didn't I? And then I'm just going to push that up, and look how nice and neat that is for a handle end. Okay, push that through to the other side, to the right side, and then I'm just pushing there. Really, really lovely. So I'm now going to, of course, got my open edge here. I am going to stitch down the edges. So let's start. So I'm stitching down the open edge first of all, and we will go all the way down here. So I have cut my strip of fabric in half, so I'm doing two handles separately. Let's just hold that there, rather than like we did before, or well, how we usually do. We do it all in one strip. So I'm coming around to the end. That went too far. Right, and then round we go again, straight down to the other end. And what I did on the other one, mainly because my edge stitching was not the best, I stitched down the middle as well. So let's just go down here. So we stitched all the way around, but I'm going to stitch right down the middle as well. So just centre that up with your foot, and we'll stitch right down the middle. You could, if you wanted to, stitch in between these rows as well. I have been known to do 5 rows, and we'll stop just there and clip that off. So I do like 3 rows of stitching on my bag handles. Just clip those. Don't want that bit. There we go. So we have our handles. We have 2 of these. So all we're going to do, we don't need any measuring as we would normally. So here's the side of our bag. And all I'm going to do, where did I put the side of my bag? Oh, that's right. So I've got 3 here. So I'm just going to put just to the side of this row here, and just to the side of this one. So it's about 1/2 inch from that top edge. I will put a pin in there just to hold it, and then making sure that it's not twisted, we'll bring the other end around and we tuck it the other side there. Just make sure they're at the same level, and put a pin in there to hold. Then we can swivel it round and we'll put one here, so it was just to the side of our cut piece of our raggy part, our raggy seam. Just put that right down there at the same level, and then similarly just there at the same level, and pop our, so that's how the handles will go. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a rectangle around here. So I'm just going to pop it under the machine, and if you've got a free arm, so much better. This is not quite a free arm. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch across here, and then I'm going to revert, no I'm not, I'm going to go forwards here. So I've just pivoted a little bit, and then when I've got to that stitch line, I'm going to go a little bit further, one more, and then I'm going to reverse across this bit, so just so that I don't have to keep moving the bag around. So I'm in reverse, there we go, and then I am going to bring that around, so I'm coming forwards, and I'm going to do a fifth line of stitching. So I'm going twice over that same one just there. So we can just clip that off, and then I'll move it over to the next one and do the same as I did before. So I'm starting close to the top edge. So I'm starting from the stitching, and I'm coming across there, and I'm in my row of stitching there, and then I'll move it round to come forwards. And then what I'm going, so that I don't have to keep moving the bag the whole way round, I then reverse across this bottom edge. There we go. And then I can do it toward me, just to where we got to, and then along that same row of stitching again. So that just for me is the easier way of doing it. If I didn't have that middle row of stitching, that would look even better. So there's our quite robust there. Does the larger bag have bigger squares? Yes, it does. The larger bag has 36 squares. So the larger bag has got 4 rows. This has only got 2. It's got 4 rows of 3 squares. So they are 6-inch squares on the big one. And on this smaller one, they are 4-inch squares, but you haven't got as many squares on there either. So I'm just going to finish off these last handles. So starting again from there. So I'm going across, and I go to my line of stitching, and then just pivot that round, down, one more there. And then, so I'm only pivoting in 2 ways. It's so much easier, it really is. And then towards me, up that line of stitching that's already there, and then across the top row. So I've got a double row of stitching for stability, and then we'll just shift that across to the other side, and we'll start stitching there. So across we go to that line of stitching, turn it towards me, and turn it away from me, and reverse. There we go. Oops, one more reverse. Came back too soon. And then towards me. And then across that band of stitching. So that's, as I say, it's got 5 rows of stitching there. And then we can just clip those little bits on the inside. There it is. A little bit on the outside. That's the worst bit. And the only thing I would need to do then is to clip into all of these edge pieces here as well. So I can clip where that's held down, and then I could just go around here again like so. And let's clip that one down so we'll have that one up a bit. Clip, clip, and clip, and right to just under there as well. And then, as I did before, just give it a ruffle with your scissors. Actually, it's easy with the handles. The handles tend to really make that spread, and then down the bottom there, so that you've got ruffles all the way around. And then I'd go all the way around that edge as well. So it looks, with all these little bits, where the seam's gone a little bit longer, we can trim those bits off. But at the end of the day, it is a raggedy look bag anyway. And you can just push those sides in like that. They just fold in really nicely. And you've got your Raggy bag in the navy. Okay, let's just take this off, and there we go, just so that you can have a look there. And then there we go, we are back again. Oh, so we're back with the bag there. Here we have the raggedy bag here. I will need to just clip all the way around these bottom edges, which were the last ones to do, and also down these side edges. Now you saw, which one had I done? This one here. But we can just ruffle that up. I mean, even, you know, ruffling it with your hands and scrunching it about, because it's just a soft looking bag. But just all the way around just gives it that extra bit of zoom pizzazz. Oh, and I've forgotten to put, so you've got your jade one, I've forgotten to put the cam snap on. So you've got this one here and this one, and they are the same bag, but it's just one is held together. Let's just hold that like that so that you can see they are the same size. Just one is pulled together. But they look pretty, don't they? Those colours look lovely, and something just that little bit different. Okay, let me just see what we have here. So, oh, yeah, you'll give that a go. Fantastic. Thank you, Jeeta. Could you put ties at the sides? You could try, Jill. You'd probably have to put them on a little bit like putting the handles on. I think it's one of these things. You could put cam snaps here like I have on the big one. You could put cam snaps in the side. So there's our side. Pop a cam snap each side if you want to have it pulled closed. Ties at the sides, I don't think it lends itself to that. The ties at the sides on the other bags that I've done were actually set into the seam. So could be an overnight bag for hospital, but we don't want to go to hospital, do we, Sandra? No, but I know what you mean. Okay. Often use a decorative stitch. Lovely. It does. Most definitely does. Tony's definitely making one as well. Brilliant. Okay, well, I'm getting pretty hungry. Does it continue, or do they? Yeah, they eventually stop shredding. And as I say, if you put it in the washing machine or even give it a hand wash and really move it about, yeah, it does stop. It's not going to shred till there's nothing there. The other bag, as I say, I have somewhere, has been about for ages and pushed from pillar to post, and it is still absolutely fine. Okay, my tummy is telling me it's time for my dinner. So I'll say thank you for joining me tonight. It was absolutely wonderful. And I'm glad you've enjoyed. Give it a go. Or if you do want a kit, it will be all the squares will be cut and the wadding will be cut. You'll just have to, there'll be a strip for the handles. But it will be fairly easy and straightforward for you to just pop it together. So anyhow, love you and leave you. And I will see you I'll put a menu up for Thursday and Friday. because I haven't thought exactly what I'm going to do. But I will find something. Don't worry at all. And I will see you on Thursday. Enjoy the rest of your evening and tomorrow. Let's hope it's not cloudy and rainy tomorrow and cold. And then Thursday, I shall see you then at 6:30. So bye for now.